Please help me grow by liking and subscribing. Hello, everyone. Scott Cronk here, owner of Cronk Creations. I get asked a lot how I create my texture, so I'm doing a short video today to explain to y'all how I create my texture and what mediums I use. But first, a little bit of history on this. The original idea came from a college professor of mine. He was using acrylic caulking to add texture to his acrylic paint. He would mix the caulk with his paint, but I found two problems with that. On my first painting, I tried the acrylic caulking is white, so when you mix it with paint, it dulls down your paint. So you might start out with a beautiful bright red, but adding a bunch of white to it makes it a very beautiful pink. And then the other technique was by adding the caulking to the acrylic, it actually thinned down the caulking, so then you weren't able to get the extreme textures that I was trying to get. What I ended up doing was I just take the caulk straight from the tube, lay it out a little bit, and then use a series of palette knives and different clay working tools, get the desired texture that I want. So I build all of my texture first, let that dry over 1 to 2 weeks. Most of it's according to how thick your texture is. You can technically paint it the next day, but it can be really soft and squishy in spots. So normally I tend to do my texture at least a week in advance. A lot of times I'll build texture on multiple paintings at once, and then the following week I can do painting. But anyways, just as a new dragon eye that I am starting, if you watch some of my other videos or some of my shorts, you will see that I have a fascination with eyes, especially animal eyes. I've never to this date done a human eye, but I do enjoy my animal eyes. And I started out doing a lot of lizards and snakes and such. Over time, I have gotten to where I mostly just do fantasy eyes. So I just completely create my own eyes, because for me it's a lot more fun because I can completely just make up the textures, do whatever I want, and then I can just paint them however I want. For the artist, for me, it's way more enjoyable than trying to copy a wolf eye or a fox or a caribou or whatever it is. This painting is going to be a nature dragon eye or something like that. I had a new clay tool that I had never used before. It was actually described as being used for making scales on dragons, or scales, I guess, on anything you would make scales on. This material is a little finicky to use because it's very wet, so you really have to play with it. Sometimes you can't get all the desired textures you want, but for me, I found that it's a pretty cheap alternative to a lot of other things that people use for creating textures. For a single dragon eye on like a 1 foot by 1 foot canvas, normally a tube of caulk, which is I think somewhere around $3 or $4 now a tube. I use a DAPP painter's caulk. You want to make sure that it is a paintable caulk, because otherwise when you go in to paint it, the paint's not going to stick. I use the white. I think there's also possibly a clear version, but I just use the white. It's easier for me to see what's there, and that way when I'm painting it, I can make sure I have paint in all the little areas. If it was clear, it might be harder to see if you have the entire canvas covered with paint. I have been using this technique for over a dozen years now, and the caulk seems to hold up fantastically well. I think it's actually like 40-year caulk, but normally when you're using it in a home setting, you're using it to fill a crack. So cracks expand over time, which will break the caulk. But when you're putting it onto a canvas, there's not going to be any expansion in there. So it should hold up for a lifetime. There's really no reason that it wouldn't. You will learn if you use the product a lot if you add too much water to it, because you have to use the water on your tools, because otherwise it will stick to the tools. So you have to use a lot of water on your tools to smooth everything out. And if you use too much water, the product will crack. It's a lot of trial and error. I've used it for so long now. I know what to expect. The other problem is every tube of caulk is different. Some of them are a little runny, some of them are a little stiff. It's not a perfect product, but it's cheap enough that you can really explore with it if you want to, and you're not gonna break your wallet trying to spend some time exploring with it. If you found any information in this and you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, share, comment. If you have any questions at all, please comment. Just ask, and I will do my best to get a response out to you, either by video form or by just answering your comment. I hope maybe you learned something. I will be posting many videos of me building the texture over time. So maybe in a future video, I will answer your questions. Just let me know if I can help you in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, I hope everyone has a great day. Bye.